courtesy of 3dprint.com. Today we've got a number of news items for you, the latest additive manufacturing 3D printing news, and we're starting with 3D Spark saves 1.8 million euros. This is the news of the 3D Spark platform saved Alstom, one of the largest one of the largest industrial companies in the world and one of the largest rail, rolling stock, and train companies in the world, saved them 1.8 million euros and 20,000 days of delivery time. So 3D Spark is a 3D printing part discovery, part identification platform that analyzes your parts that you have in your inventory, the CAD that you have, and then tells you how 3D printable these parts are, how easy some of them are to 3D print, and essentially scores them, telling you, hey, this one's going to be more expensive, this one's going to be better. They got an award from the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Protection in Germany. The award itself is $7,000, so it's nothing really that great. What they're going to do, go to lunch, but it's a great place to be recognized. And I also like that the Climate Protection Ministry of the German government finds this to be a really a worthwhile kind of startup to give an award to. That's a very good sign that 3D printing is seen more and more as like a climate protection industrial technology. That's really good. What 3D Spark was also able to disclose was that ZF Friedrichshafen was also a client, and they're really large, as a 155,000 employee drivetrain company that make all sorts of drivetrain components for some of the largest automakers in the world. And the fact that they're a customer and Alstom is a customer for such a quite young, unknown company is very great news. And another thing is they disclosed that MetShape was a customer as well. And MetShape is a slurry SLA 3D printing service that prints series of accurate parts for medical and industrial, usually quite small parts in small series. And they use 3D Spark to identify the right tenders and the right offers to bid on, and the right kind of orders that come in for them to identify which ones are the most eminently printed ones so they should focus on. That's an interesting use, I think, that people haven't considered. I applaud this news for 3D Spark, which is also good news if it would be Caster or 3D Mind, because any advantage that these companies have, any money they get in funding, any new clients they get, is going to make better 3D print decision-making tools. And better 3D print decision-making tools is going to mean that companies are going to be able to use these products faster, going to be able to use machines faster, buy services faster, buy materials, parts, software, everything. So they're a real force multiplier for us. So this is a huge market, a hugely fast-growing market that I think would bring us all a lot of advantages. The next thing is we have a from Paredo Studio. We've got by Tony Parez-Edo Martin. We've got he used the Dassault System A3 Experience platform to make eFlow, which is an air purifier concept that does air purification and ventilation in a soothingly, as the company said, styled chandelier. So I like a few things about this, and not how it looks. I'm not a fan, but what I do like about this is the fact that we're taking a relatively dumb object that only supports lights essentially, and we're doing something interesting with it, as in we're hiding a core functionality, and that core functionality is something like purifying the air or circulating air better. And that to me is something we could do with a lot of chairs. We could do that with wine racks, or we could do that with closets, or all sorts of stuff in the homes that are underutilized. So that's to me is something that we should be looking at more things. And generally, anything with cooling and heating is something that I'm extra kind of concerned with and thinking about now, because of course things like heat pumps, Stirling engines, air conditioning is going to be used more and more often if this very hot period we're having here is going to become the norm, or is going to be something that is going to be recurring often. So this is something of an area where, by making optimal flow and reducing mass and increasing functionality of parts, we can really have a high impact in any kind of area where we're heating and cooling things. The next news is by Adafruit. I released a video saying that miniatures are a little over $1 per minute, or per miniature to make. We are often looking right now at industrial things. We don't consider the maker. We also don't really consider consumer products that much. This is somebody showing that with Elegoo Mars, very inexpensive 3D printer, you can make that polarization system. You can make miniatures around £1, a little over $1 per miniature. And of course, miniatures, if you look at companies like Games Workshop that they own these kind of things, they're a $400 million company. And they make lots of these miniatures, and they make molds, and they make very few of them. But if we're looking at their estimated cost for the resin is about a dollar a minute or a dollar a miniature, and if we have to wash it and we have to kind of flash it. There's some labor involved. We have to get it into a box, but one can easily see that this could be a very profitable business to make these miniatures. Indeed, there's hobbyists that are sharing their own designs, that are making sets and backgrounds and all sorts of things for this miniature market. And there's millions of people out there that do this in tabletop gaming and miniatures and these kind of things. And it just somehow hasn't really led to a giant kind of hobby in this area. But this could be more than a hobby for a lot of people. It could also be a really, really considerable business to everyone. So the next thing is that Keselowski Advanced Manufacturing, or CAM, as people also call it, buy two AOS M400 quad systems, a large, what we call now medium format metal additive manufacturing machine. That brings Keselowski's total to 5 large machines and a total of 20 metal 3D printing machines. Now, the reason I think this is important is because we're really seeing everybody was looking at consolidation. Everybody expected companies like Xometry and others to really acquire lots of companies and consolidate the market. What we're seeing is a little bit of a different thing. We're seeing companies like CAM, for example, get a lot of customers in automotive and heat sinking and defense and do some really high-end things. Syntavia as well is doing that. They're catering to defense customers, aerospace customers, very demanding customers with with quality systems and high standards. More 3D is doing the same thing. BI 3D is trying to do the same thing. Adman is doing the same thing. Divergent is doing something for automotive. But in automotive, we're also seeing companies like Azoth who are really working on supplying car manufacturers on their terms with car parts. GKN is doing something similar. So instead of just seeing a standard kind of consolidation in the market, we're seeing certain leaders really trying to take space that might be really, really hard to copy. Right? If Azoth at one point has a working relationship with with GM, and they're keep winning these tenders, then they're going to keep winning these tenders, right? That's going to be like a thing that they have kind of an advantage over service bureaus and others. If Syntavia has a good working relationship with the NRO or other people who want satellites or something like that, it's going to be very difficult to dislodge them. So that's, I think, something to watch out for. At the same time, we have Prototech and Core. These groups are consolidating the market and buying up things. And then we have Protolabs and Xometry that are publicly funded and growing as well. So we are seeing a consolidation, but this consolidation may be, on the one hand, that you have more well-funded companies, right? On the other hand, you've got companies that are buying up a lot of different players. And on the other hand, people are kind of like outqualitying the market. And so that you might very well see kind of a real kind of divergence in this market space. And that brings us to the next item, which is Divergent signs an SLA with SLM Solutions. Now, you might think, probably, maybe you've read this news and you're like, really? This is your number one news item? Well, yes, it is. So first off, a service level agreement is something very normal but with your computer or your copier or things like that. But we don't really tend to do it in 3D printing because in 3D printing, we really had very finicky machines, so we really didn't stand behind them very much. So the fact that SLM Solutions is doing this, and what happened is Divergent is a company that's making its own hypercars. It makes its own components, and it makes components for other people, and it's trying to become a production partner, like a total production partner for car companies, saying, don't worry, we'll do the design, we'll do the assembly, we have a complete system for handling your parts. You don't have to buy machines. You don't have to design anything. You don't have to do anything. We'll do everything for you, which can be very attractive to certain players in the market. They have a huge amount of machines. 6 of these really gigantic NXG 12 systems, which is 600 by 600 millimeter build volume. And now what they're going to do is they're going to say, you know what, in order for us to promise to whatever car company that we can make these parts, we need to assure our supply. So what they're doing is essentially they're vague about this. They don't exactly spell out what the deal is, which is understandable. But they're ensuring uptime. They are ensuring the availability of an engineer on site, and they have, which is described at one point as a production output commitment. Right now, so far, the only people that have kind of got these kind of deals like Formula One companies and stuff like that. And this has been a quite exotic thing, and the only reason they've been able to do it is because people really want their business. So the fact that SLM Solutions stands enough behind, believes enough in its own technology to do this is wonderful. Now think about this from an investor point of view. You're going to get a fat chunk of cash every month into your business. So that also is, I think, a very notable advantage to them. Recurring revenue like this is kind of like free revenue floating around in the air, and you capture it for yourself is really great. At the same time, this is also quite risky because if there is a kind of interruption of supply, some kind of problem in the machine, we may see them have charges or have to cough up money or do all sorts of things to get parts that they otherwise would not have to. So, well, I think this is great news, exciting news, and I hope you enjoy this today. And thank you very much for your time.